Joining us now, the former governor of Alaska, Sarah Palin, always going rogue. Governor Palin, great to talk to you.
Thank you so much, Laura. I appreciate being able to speak with you.
Let's talk first about what is happening now in our country. We had Senator Harry Reid unveil a 2,000-page health care reform monstrosity, saying that, well, we have to understand that this is what the people want us to do. What's your reaction?
They're so out of touch with what the people want. What the people want are some common sense, conservative, free market, and patient-oriented solutions plugged into some of the healthcare challenges that we're facing. They are so out of touch. You know, they're not paying attention to Tea Party movement or town hall movements or even normal, everyday, average American who doesn't have time to participate in some of those venues and activities. They're not listening to what we're saying, and it's so extremely obvious.
Now, I heard that people lined up starting at 2 in the morning. Were you in Michigan last night, Governor Palin?
Yeah, I was in Grand Rapids, and we're in Fort Wayne, Indiana now.
I got an email from one of our listeners in the Grand Rapids area, and she said that she got there, I guess, at about 3 in the morning to line up, but people had been lining up an hour before that to get to meet you and get a chance to talk to you. What did you sense among these people who, obviously, they love you, but there's something in your approach to issues that's really, it's moving people. What are you sensing from this crowd?
I think it really has nothing to do with me personally. It has to do with the message. It's the same message that you have, Laura, where we're saying, for instance, with the health care bill that Congress is trying to cram down our throats, we're saying, no, stop it. You need to trust the people. You need to listen to the people. And here's what we expect of our government. You better get back on our side, and you better not cram things like this down our throat. You better not try to take over 1/6 of our economy. And in this new version, too, of the health care bill, it's going to cost about $1 trillion, they say, which, of course, is an optimistic, minimalist number that we're being fed there. But there's going to be these tax increases that they're not even talking about yet that will have to be implemented to pay for this. People whom I spoke with last night at this book signing, that's what they're concerned about, is this ignorance of Congress and the White House in terms of not listening to what it is that we expect from our government with health care, with energy independence, with national security issues.
And speaking of national security issues, Governor Palin, Khalid Sheikh Mohammed will be brought to New York, just blocks from the World Trade Center site. And that's the place where when he was, I guess, in an internet cafe in Pakistan, seeing these towers come down, cheering with Ramzi bin al-Shibh and others who were masterminding this attack. What would you like to say to President Obama and Eric Holder after this decision to hold this trial in a civilian court rather than a military tribunal?
I would like to sort of say to them, I would like to ask them, who is pulling the strings here? Who in the world would advise a decision like this when it's absolutely obvious, again, to most Americans, that this is a wrong decision? We're going to face this mockery being made of our Constitution and American rights that are going to be given to these terrorists who want to destroy our Constitution and our rights as Americans. I think it's a horrible decision, and I would just like to know, we'll never get the answer, but I'd like to know who's pulling their strings.
Governor Palin, the president returning from China and his Asia tour was in, you'll be happy to know this. I know you've been busy on the tour. He got an honorary black belt in Taekwondo in Seoul last night. All right, I know you'll be celebrating that later today. So at least he got something out of this trip. But what did he get out of the China part of the trip?
Well, I don't know if any goals were met here. I really don't. I did hear in discussions with China how we will balance out the trade deficit that we have going with them. I didn't hear any talk about what America needs to do to shore up our own economy so that we're less and less reliant upon and beholden to some of these foreign countries like China. Didn't hear anything about how we are going to start walking the walk and not just talking the talk about growing debt and how that is dangerous for our country, for national security reasons even. So didn't hear a lot about that, and that's why I say I don't know if a lot of goals were met.
And Governor Palin, do you believe that President Obama wants America to remain the dominant military and economic power in the world?
We need to start that walk again, not just that talk about how we are dominant and how we are a.
But do you think? I'm sorry to interrupt. But do you think Governor Palin, President Obama wants America to remain the dominant superpower in the world?
I can't speak to what his motivations are. I can't figure it out. I know that Americans want us to remain the dominant superpower. We want to be strong militarily and economically so that we can be a more generous and prosperous and a safer nation to help the entire globe. I mean, there are so many reasons why we need to remain that shining city on a hill, like Reagan used to say, as that beacon for others seeking freedoms and democracy. And the steps that our country is taking right now is diminishing that, is dimming that light, and it scares the rest of us.
Well, my own view, and you know this, I know you all listen sometimes on KBYR in Anchorage, but it doesn't seem like anything he's doing, abroad or at home, will conclude in a stronger America economically or militarily. It seems, in fact, the opposite. So I conclude that he wants us to become just another member nation, and America's had her day, and that was last century, and now this is China's century. We just have to get used to it. Governor Palin, I was so upset that you didn't have an index in the back of your book, so all the narcissists in Washington couldn't flip to their pages. But someone had told me that you had mentioned our conversation during the campaign. You referred to calls that you tried to sneak in to Rush and me and Sean Hannity and some others. And who was stopping you from, or trying to stop you from, calling us and having a conversation with millions of Americans? Who at the campaign was trying to stop you?
There were a few operatives who seemed to not want me to reach out, or Senator McCain to reach out to some of the common sense conservatives out there who were essentially having to do what our campaign wasn't doing. What you guys were doing was calling the other candidate, Obama, out on his associations, on his past voting record, those things that were so important because they were indicative of how he would administer. You guys were calling him out. We were not. And that's why, I snuck in a couple of phone calls to say, hey, guys, I'm still here. I'll try to help however I can. And that was going rogue, got in trouble for it, but that's okay, because look where we are today. Our voice is loud, it's clear. Laura, the work that you're doing for the American people is overwhelmingly, astoundingly wonderful and valuable. We need your voice.
Well, I appreciate it very much, but who told you couldn't call into the show? Come on. I mean, you're going rogue. If you're going to go rogue, you got to go rogue, Governor Palin. I mean, if you had listened to my advice early on, you wouldn't have been dealing with these McCain operatives in the first place. But I'm just teasing you. Who was it?
It was those who were in charge of the media strategy, and
Nicole Wallace.
So much. Well, ask her what that strategy was all about.
Okay, so I'll take that as a yes. It was Nicole Wallace who didn't want you to come on either my show or Sean's show or probably Rush's show. And that moment when we were dealing with that, Governor Palin, and there's so many times that I wanted to message you or get in touch with you myself because I wanted to say you are this voice that people are desperate to hear in the United States. And they were keeping you under a rug. They were trying to smother you. They're trying to keep you, dress you a certain way, make you talk a certain way. And guess what? The whole time, people just wanted to hear you. And I couldn't get to you. It was so frustrating. It was like, a hostage situation. We couldn't get to you. We're trying to send in the commandos to release you. We couldn't get you.
Well, that was mutual frustration, believe me. But now, again, it's not having anything to do with me personally, but our voice, our collective voice, common sense conservatives now saying, look at the real issues now. It's not this, don't ask me about these tabloidization of my family type issues. That's why I appreciated in this interview, Laura. You get right to the point. You talk about the issues that matter. Doesn't have anything to do with me. The real issues are today defeating health care, defeating the rest of the Obama administration's agenda that will do our country in with national security solutions that he believes should be implemented that really are weakening our country, as you said, too. That's the real stuff that we need to be talking about. And now, the shackles are off and I'm able to talk about it. I'm able to join you to talk about it.
I love it. When we come back, I'm going to ask Governor Palin whether she's concerned that the media's obsession with Levi and this and that and the criticism of her and, as she said, the tabloidization of this story can detract from this important mission of defeating Obamacare, climate change, and amnesty for illegals. I'm going to ask her about that and a lot more. Sarah Palin, Going Rogue on The Laura Ingraham Show.
Well, I'm not a member of the permanent political establishment.